the keyboard to the boardroom. This is the Business of Esports post-podcast live stream. I'm Paul Dawalibi. I'm joined today by my friend William Collis and Lindsay Poss. For those of you who are new to the live stream, welcome to the official live stream of esports. What we do here is we cover all the stuff that doesn't make it into the podcast. All the fun articles, all the less fun articles, the more serious ones, but everything that doesn't make it into the main show, we cover here. It's just as much fun. It's more interactive. You guys get to ask questions, get us to talk about things that maybe you want to talk about, interact. In general, it's just a fun time. For our regular listeners and viewers, thank you so much for showing up every week. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast. Thank you for coming to the live streams. We really appreciate it. If you weren't here, we wouldn't be doing this. So it's all because of you. How are you guys doing today, William, Lindsay?
Yeah, well, Lindsay first.
It's been a week.
It's been a week.
And it's only Wednesday. Jeesh.
The fact that we do these live streams on a Wednesday, I feel like all of us are like a little frazzled by Wednesday evening.
You know, like
catch me on a Monday after I've had 2 days of sleeping 11 plus hours.
I know, right? Like we should really, or the optimal time to record this would be like Saturday night, 2 a.m. after a marathon gaming session. We're like another victory or podcast. No, I'm great. Yeah, I'm exhausted, but I'm great.
Are you standing up, William? Are you doing this standing up?
Yeah, have you not noticed? I'm standing up for the podcast now because I feel like it makes me more animated and engaged, right? Like I gesticulate more, my voice is more varied. We're professionals now, Paul. These are literally pro tips. I mean, I don't know about you, but like I'm 100% like a AAA product. I mean,
no, my bum is firmly planted in my Herman Miller. Got to make use of the $1,500 chair. Right?
I believe my performance is the culinary equivalent of Wagyu beef, so I'm here to...
Excuse me.
Only one standing, though.
Yeah.
It's just that much fresher when you're standing.
Yeah.
Look, guys, we have so many good topics this week. Cam says, standing by. Welcome, Cam. Actually, I have your box and your mouse ready to go. I signed it and everything. Hopefully you like it. Lots of good topics this week. So much to talk about. There was a lot in the news. I don't know what you guys want to start with, but I have a suggestion.
Go.
It's kind of a sad story, and I was a little bit surprised when I saw this. Surprised for two reasons, in fact. But I'll show you guys the article. This is from bestgamingpro.com, and it's StarCraft 2's long-running esports lineage unclear as Blizzard ceases active development. And the article, I mean, everything's sort of captured in that headline, which is they're stopping all development on the game. And so the future, basically, of StarCraft esports at all is in question. Now, StarCraft esports were not the biggest esports in the world, but do have a significant place in esports history and a significant place even today. So they wrote this whole letter. I'm not going to read it. Typical Activision Blizzard kind of letter, I find.
Well, this is one that I just was so, and you guys have to hear me out on this one, but I was just so happy to hear this news. Right?
Happy.
I was thrilled. I was absolutely thrilled. Like they're
not sending the people to work on Heroes of the Storm.
If you follow this up with, now they have time to make Heroes of the Storm better.
Yeah.
No, that is not it. Okay. That is not it. Hear me out. They finally hit their goal with StarCraft 2. It's perfect. They don't need to develop it anymore. They got it. They were close. They got it pretty close. They did it, and good for them. This might be the first perfect video game ever that needs. What else could you do? There's nothing left. Literally, this is the gaming equivalent of repainting the house, repaving the driveway, and putting up a new picket fence. Like they're done. It's so good. They don't need to make it any better. I admire them. This is an artist stepping away from a painting.
So, William, can I just extrapolate from your conclusion here that therefore you think StarCraft's long-running esports scene is not going anywhere.
Well, I really, okay, so all like total facetious joking aside about like that, like the reality is this breaks my heart because, and I think it breaks all our hearts because StarCraft 2 may arguably be the beginning of modern esports. It's not the beginning of esports, but of modern esports. And, you know, like
you write a lot about it in your book too.
There's a ton about it in my book, yeah. But at the same time, and now I'm going to try to put a bright spot on this, like, was the game really, like, it wasn't like there were new races coming in, new units being added to armies. The reality is true active development on this game beyond what was essentially a digital items transaction, you know, structure through some of the quests and the, you know, the two-player multiplayer generals mode and stuff. Like, it had stopped a while ago, and the esports scene has been just fine for this title. So, well, I think it is very sad, and I am so surprised that this isn't StarCraft 2 development stops ... to shift team to StarCraft 3. Like, if that were the story, we'd all be like, hurrah! Like, yes, it's time. You know, like, it's just like, no more StarCraft. It's gone. But I really don't think just because the game stops, the development of the esports scene needs to stop. And the truth is, it's a fantastic and competitive game right now. And chess hasn't had a patch in 2,000 years, and it's doing just fine. So my facetiousness aside up front, this doesn't have me scared for StarCraft 2 esports. It more has me scared for, like, the brand of StarCraft as a whole and where it will be.
Martin says giveaway number 2. I'm feeling likely. Martin, I'm so sad. I hope you stay. But William and I had like 0 free time this week to put together a proper giveaway. And so instead, to make it up to you guys, we're going to do 2 separate giveaways next week. Okay, so that we stay true to our word. Going to give 2. There will be 2 prize winners next week instead of just 1. So stay tuned for that. But this week was just a monster.
Guys, it's just ridiculous.
I mean, the fun part is everyone watching here will eventually find out why we keep complaining about being so busy. It's just right now we can't say anything, unfortunately.
There's no, we're just like, we're busy all the time.
There is a reason we're not making this up. You will find out.
Multiple reasons. There's like 42 reasons.
It will be public. It will, you know, it's all going to become clear some point in the future. So stay tuned, but we will make up for on the giveaways next week. Lindsay's going to hold us to that, right? Lindsay, you won't show up next week if we don't.
Well, Lindsay's going to pick the names because we all know Paul wrote a random number generator. So Cam won. Like, it's just absolutely obvious that's literally like the guy running the lottery being like, oh, who wins? Me? What a surprise.
Shout out to William for alienating one of our best fans.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Great work.
Sea-Dog says there was a lot of great new content that came in for co-op. I actually didn't know that. Was there really?
There was. Yeah, StarCraft 2 had an incredible post-life around this sort of like general or command. I forget what it's called. Sea-Dog can probably tell me the name. It's like a commander mode where you pick a hero and it gives you unique special abilities in game. And it is really great content. And again, I feel like it was hinting at probably what StarCraft 3 could have been with, like, not just a race selection, but like a commander selection. You know, like there were so many good ideas on that game, but the reality is I also think that the perfectionism in the multiplayer really hampered how the game could grow. So classic one-on-one StarCraft really, I mean, it does change with patches and stuff, but all the innovation has been in the co-op mode because I think that's where the devs felt like they could take risks, which I think actually worked to the detriment of StarCraft 2 as a game ultimately. But
Martin says games survive without devs. Look at Smash Brothers Melee. Yeah. Well, yes, sort of.
Yeah. Well, no.
But that comment could prove either side of that point, to be honest.
I could be really witty and say, like, games survive without devs. Look at Dota or CS:GO.
That's actually kind of true.
It's a little wittier if you think about it.
Scared as a StarCraft 2 fan that it goes the way of a brawl to a melee. Not sure that the fan base for just StarCraft 2 is large enough to sustain itself equally aside from Brood War. You know, I have to believe they're working on another StarCraft game, William. No?
You would think that, but like that's what I mean. Blizzard is no stranger to announcing games with no release date. Why would, if you had another game that was reasonably far along in the hopper, and by reasonably far for Blizzard, it could be 4 years for market, let's be honest, why would you not mention it? Why not the reason to wind down StarCraft 2, StarCraft 3? Like, come on. Or at least unrelated StarCraft projects. Like, I can give you so many code words that would turn this into good news for the community. But it's pretty much like, come on, nobody. You know, it feels like such an afterthought, the messaging around this.
Can we talk about a related story? So Martin says, of course I'll stay. Christopher says bated breath ensues. Yeah, Christopher, hopefully you don't have to wait that long because we're both suffocating in the meantime. This is a totally related story. In fact, it's completely connected to the last one, and it's from the Esports Observer. And you know, the announcement happened basically back to back, like almost as if they were announced together. And this is Frost Giant Studios raises $4.7 million in seed financing. What's interesting is Frost Giant Studios was founded by StarCraft 2's former production director and Warcraft 3's lead campaign designer. And they're setting out to bring real-time strategy games to a broader audience by lowering the barrier to entry, enhancing cooperative gameplay, expanding the legacy of competitive esports, and empowering user-generated content. So kind of like, hey, we're going to do real-time, we're going to do RTS games right. We're going to do everything Blizzard's, hasn't been doing, and picking up the mantle for our RTS games. That's what I'm reading here. Do you guys not see this as a very convenient kind of back-to-back announcement?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I also think the name Frost Giant is extremely convenient if you're coming from a studio called Blizzard. Like, that's a little bit on the nose. Like,
I hadn't thought about that.
I'm telling you right now, that has to be intentional. It's like, but
they survived the Blizzard because they are Frost Giants.
There's so many ways we can. The point is, like, there seem to be a lot of announcements that are creatives departing Blizzard with a jab at Blizzard in their new venture announcement. It doesn't. But I would say that the interesting thing to me about this announcement is what they say first, which is lowering the barrier to entry. Mm-hmm. Because I truly believe, and again, going to my book, like the thing that held back RTSs from true greatness is it's just too hard to play them for new players. It's too daunting. And particularly the multiplayer, you just jump right in, you're supposed to be able to reduce 200. I still can't play StarCraft 2 well. And I've been playing since StarCraft 1, and I'm not good at it. I don't get it right even at all. I constantly lose games because my, like SCVs get attacked and like I forget to. So like I think that's really exciting to me because that small nugget there, everything else is a bit like, okay, UGC, like, okay, but like that piece, lowering barrier to entry, seems like to be really aware of what the market needs right now, which I really like.
Lindsay, you're the most pragmatic of the bunch here, right? So Blizzard now maybe has a Diablo game in development, right? Is finishing up the latest expansion for World of Warcraft, but arguably it's already done, right? So they're not working on that. And finishing Overwatch 2. Can we still call this a games company when basically it doesn't seem like they're making any new games?
Well, that's what I'm finding interesting about this StarCraft announcement is it's leaving a fairly gaping hole of skilled game players in the Blizzard repertoire here. Like they're getting rid of a skill game and
with no replacement, right? Like with nothing.
That's what I'm not quite understanding. And I understand Frost Giant's perspective in trying to kind of fill that gap and to get a broader audience of players who aren't as comfortable with that type of gameplay. But at the same time, I can't think of many cases when someone went from a niche product that was very popular with a specific audience and tried to turn it into a broad-based product that is comfortable with the more common consumer, where that kind of worked. So I'm not sure that this was the right move by Blizzard because I think that if they kind of let this smolder, they could risk losing a niche audience that's very dedicated to this game. So
they're losing all their key people, and more importantly, all their key people are going and building the games that they should be building. So like, I mean, it puts them in a potentially tough competitive position, right?
It is weird because it does sort of feel like the thing that Blizzard should make is what Frost Giant described. Like, and it also sort of feels like the thing for Blizzard to announce on SC2 cancellation or dev resource, pullback would be next generation RTS projects. Like it is William, all that weird. I'm just waiting.
Is it that the guys at Frost Giant actually did pitch this internally at Blizzard and just got shot down?
I don't want to speculate, Paul, right? I mean, but look, I mean, the whole thing the timing like everything looks a little suspicious, right? Like for timing and everything, right? Like,
so you think they did, you're saying that they did pitch it no, and there's some bad blood here.
I think these guys are probably smart enough around IP that they're not, taking a concept they pitched in. But I think generally are these people who are passionate about RTS games and felt like maybe they might be better off trying to make them outside of Blizzard, given the level of corporate support that was going into them. Yeah. I mean, you can't correlate these things 1-to-1. It's not like these guys, like the timing is too serendipitous to be serendipity. The timing is too serendipitous to be tactical, I think, right?
This is the only like corporate breakup, right? Corporate divestiture of assets where the corporation divesting the asset is not getting any money for them. Yeah. Fundamentally what's happening here.
Well, but it's the challenge of when you're in a talent business. But it's saying, okay,
Martin says the more RTSs, the better. Such an underserviced genre these days. Martin, I think you'd find a lot of people agree with you. C-Dog says, I want to be optimistic, but I've been burnt on this before. Grey goo from the ex-devs of Command and Conquer. This is true, right? Like breaking out from a popular studio.
Anything by Chris Taylor after like
agree with William that this genre faces a big problem with accessibility and therefore dollars. Neil's here. Neil says, what a lineup tonight, excited to tune in. Neil, it's so happy to have you.
Love
here.
Neil.
C-Dog says, I think Blizzard's bet is that the SC2 audience goes to Brood War and that RTS is a hobbyist genre that won't see a breakout hit even with improved accessibility.
That's what I'm wondering.
But it's the second part that you can poke a lot of holes in, right? Like just assuming the RTS genre is effectively dead or like a total niche audience. I refuse to believe that.
It just hasn't been innovated. It's still, this is the problem I have with RTS is like, and I'm sorry, it's the same game. Like, look, I love StarCraft 2. It is great. It's a brilliant game. It's the same game as StarCraft with better graphics and some slightly different units, right? Like, there is not real... Yes, there's more microplay. They raised the skill cap, but did they really innovate the formula with it? And that was the criticism even of StarCraft 2 when it launched, is it's a lot like StarCraft 2, a lot like StarCraft 1. And I'm not... I don't want to come across as critical of StarCraft 2 because it is a very brilliant game that stood the test of time. But it also highlights... to me, the challenge in the industry, which is the best thing to happen to RTS since StarCraft 1, was a very similar conceptual game in a genre that really, like, it's armies battling armies. Like, hello, that is open for so many different interpretations, and it's so cool. Like, it's not like the concept is, raising cows and horses, and I could be like, well... yeah, that might appeal to, farming communities, but it's not good. Like, it's armies in full-scale war that you're controlling. It's awesome. We should have better takes on this. So, it will happen, I believe. Oh, also, best comment ever in chat. I don't know if you guys saw Neil's comment there.
Neil says, bring back Heroes of the Dorm. Neil, can you stop giving William any kind of heroes ammunition for anything at all, please?
Neil, all I'm waiting for, listen, I have my college. I'm going back to college. I will compete.
He would. I'll
show.
Dreamhaven, Frost Giant, what's next? That's what I'm saying. This is a corporate breakup, a series of corporate divestitures where what's being sold off basically or broken off they're getting zero value for, which is weird. you'd think maybe spin out these as smaller independent studios, or
that's what I was going to say. It
something,
seems like the real problem Blizzard is having is actually, and this is a bold claim here, I know, but it seems like it's a management structural problem because
Oh, really?
Yeah. No,
Or management,
no, this is not me criticizing
thought?
those. No, you're taking it the wrong way. I think what it is look, like it's probably true. StarCraft does not generate revenues at all on the magnitude of WoW, Hearthstone, even Overwatch, right? Just doesn't do it. And so, yes, like probably from a resource corporate priority standpoint, I mean, we had this happen all the time in the toy industry. We would just kill off product lines that weren't unprofitable. They just weren't profitable enough. And we had to justify management attention and all these things. I think it's that sort of situation. But the reality is it feels like there should be a transition plan to boutique, like, or maybe like, Sleet Studios or some boutique business or app that continues to extract the revenues on a much lower overhead model and candidly reward the community, because it's not like you're giving them a bad game. Like, I don't know, it's a bad game that I didn't like. That's an RTS. I can't remember. There are lots of them though.
No, but where Blizzard retains the talent at least, right? Like,
exactly.
Like we spin you out into a smaller studio. The expectations are smaller. You don't have as much management oversight, so you can make the game you want to make.
Yep.
You stick to some fixed budget that we give you, so you don't have, this thing doesn't
exactly. And the goal is do something, keep it moving, and realize limited revenues. It's a passion project, whatever. But yeah, you keep the IP fresh, you keep the community active, and kind of primed for and like I said, I can't believe StarCraft 2 was unprofitable. I doubt Blizzard was losing money keeping the lights on in that game. They just weren't earning enough money. And I think that says there needs to be a management structure to address it.
I mean, Martin asked, wouldn't it be profitable for Blizzard to make a new StarCraft high skill cap RTS with its popularity in Korea alone? I mean, I don't know what kind of, because they don't break it out. I don't think for StarCraft, at least when they publish their numbers. So I don't know if it would be profitable just in Korea. But the fact is, to William's point, it's profitable or not. If it's not making enough profit to move the needle, they may say this is just a distraction, right?
Yeah, which I'm sure it was. I mean, it's a distraction even in the Blizzard launcher, right? Like, I'm sure they'd much rather be pushing the new Call of Duty or Call of Duty mods or things as real estate in there. So I get it, but there's a way to manage these boutique Afterlife brands without just kind of dumping them off. And I think in aggregate it would benefit Blizzard because they have such powerful communities that could really be leveraged or catalyzed for the next title, right?
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, unless 2020 is the worst year of all time, right? There will be a StarCraft 3. Right, this is not the end of the pulling of dev. Well, there are many terrible years in history. I shouldn't, but it's a bad year. My point is, unless it's a truly you know what I mean. You know what I'm trying to say, right? But so why would the last message you would want to the SC2 community be one of a little bit of abandonment when I don't think you need to have that message, So and I mean, I don't know. It's just strange.
I mean, a lot of communication failures, frankly, on Blizzard's part in recent history. Anyways, let's move on. Let's talk to another two related stories. I'll present both of them so that we can talk about them together here.
That's true, Blizzard.
Esports Insider wrote about this is from Esports Insider. Guild Esports announces £3.6 million deal with European tech firm. So this is Guild Esports. It's the esports org co-owned by David Beckham. And in a press release, they announced a 3-year sponsorship deal worth £3.6 million with an unknown financial technology company based in Europe. And it's the first major sponsorship deal by Guild since its IPO. Okay. First story. Second Guild story that I saw was, this is from GameReactor.eu. David Beckham was paid $20 million to be the face of Guild Esports. So he was given a hefty sum to be the org's public face. To uphold his contract, he's required to complete 1 photo shoot, make 1 TV video content shoot, make 2 public appearances, and complete 12 social media posts over the course of a year for the next 5 years. and he also owns 4.78% equity in the org.
Oh, wow.
So if we break this down, just to be clear, is $20 million over the next 5 years. He's being paid $4 million a year for one photo shoot, one content shoot, 2 public appearances, and 12 social media posts, which kind of good money for, even for a guy like David Beckham, 12 social media posts.
Oh, I mean,
for $4 million bucks.
My first takeaway from this is high fives to Beckham. I mean, that's great. Like, good for you.
My first takeaway is, what is my rate going to be that high?
We have yet to announce Lindsay's deal for the podcast.
Right, I'm waiting.
It's competitive.
Big news, right?
It's competitive.
But the thing here is I think the aspersion or the assuasion in this article a little bit, and why it got some traction, is it's like, oh, it's not really David Beckham's team he was paid to be the face about, right? And like, the thing I kind of want to address here is like, that's sort of how it works with most of the celebrities backing teams and stuff in the industry today. Like, hello,
what we've been saying.
Like, yeah, there's nothing disingenuous about this. It's how the industry is working. And by the way, the strategy of, well, maybe I shouldn't say something disingenuous, but it's
there's
how
quite
the
a bit
industry
disingenuous about it. So.
It's how the industry is working. And the other thing I would say is like, this approach of getting Beckham seems to be effective because there's a lot of dialogue and I mean, how many times have we talked about Guild on this podcast already? You know, for a team that really doesn't have much under the hood, right? It's not like they're winning major they didn't just win the LCS, right? Like, it worked as an eyeball grab, you know? So it's one of those things where like, I'm like to hear your take on it, but I'm a bit like smart thinking on those guys' part. Like, good for you. You took a risk, you spent a ton of money, but it seems to be paying off. Like, excellent.
Lindsay, I'm curious to hear your take on this before I shit all over this.
Speaking of shit, so there's an exact metaphor I was thinking of, and it comes from my 9th grade history teacher when talking about the Roaring 20s. He basically said the Roaring 20s were like if you took a pile of crap and molded it all together and then just dipped it in gold and said, here's a giant gold nugget. And nobody knew that inside the gold nugget was a load of crap. So I'm wondering, is David Beckham the gold on this crap nugget? Or is this a winning strategy?
I mean, does it? Let me ask a specific question. Does it surprise you that they signed this 3-year sponsorship deal worth millions of dollars, but the sponsor's not named? It's unknown.
That's a little weirder because that sort of seems to me like they wanted to announce a deal, but like didn't want to actually activate the sponsorship yet. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's sort of, that one's a little weirder, but I do want to like,
please explain to me how that played out. Because I don't see any scenario where you announce a sponsorship deal, but don't announce the sponsor. I don't think I've ever seen this ever.
What's the point of sponsorship? That's literally the point.
Unless it was like rumored, right? The journalist dug up a rumor and it's yet to be announced. But no, this was an official announcement. It was a press release by Guild Esports.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. Like, but
can I tell you what it is? It's pure stock manipulation. It's pure PR to bump up the price of their stock, right? So we don't have anything of real substance. Let's announce this sponsorship, even though the ink may not be dry on it.
Yeah, maybe, but I will say, like, for example, the Guild guys announced their Valorant roster recently. I don't know if you guys saw it. It was one of the best pieces of esports launch marketing I've ever seen. It may be my favorite piece of esports marketing that's ever been produced. And I mean,
was it the photo shoot with David Beckham?
No. It was introducing the team. Okay. And it's an interesting team, and it's like, it's a good team. It's
their Valorant team, right?
Yeah,
their Valorant team. All they've signed.
But it was like they were Vikings, because I think they're supposed to be Swedes or something. I can't remember, but they're Vikings on a longboat, and it's like quite high production value. And then it cuts to the green screen, and they're fighting, and it's interspersed with their game highlight shots, and it's like funny and good gameplay, and it's just, it was like, and I have watched every Valorant team announcement trailer, and I have seen some good ones, like TSM's was very good. I've seen some highly questionable ones, but this put every single esports team announcing a Valorant roster to shame. It was a really commercial grade piece of content that I think wasn't just hard to do. Like it took whoever was the agency, the structure behind it, it was well executed in a way that you rarely see in esports today. So that alone really, has changed my opinion a little bit, on Guild because
the video was good.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
It takes so little to sway you.
Libby made some of the best highly produced shows ever, and they just went under today. So.
David Beckham takes 2 good photos, and William's like all starry-eyed.
Yeah,
guys,
that's not
guys, there isn't even a David Beckham photo yet. But when there, but no, but I mean it. No, because I know how hard it is to do content production in esports, and I know what the grade is for kind of commercial feature esports content, and I thought it was very surprising to see these guys come in way above the bar. So I mean,
so Martin says it's like you said, Paul, these celebrities aren't investors of the orgs, they're more compensated to be attached. Yes, and I think it's actually quite disingenuous, especially when they use like the word invested in phase or whatever in the actual announcement. Chris says Team Rogue strategy, entertainers paid to be brokers. It's true. This is worse though. I'm gonna give you my thoughts on this. Agree with Paul. It's like the public LOI announcement. And Greg says the name of Guild's new sponsor will be unveiled at a global event on November 22nd. Oh, so it's mysterious to build hype around the sponsor, which I've never heard of people being fans of esports teams because of their sponsors. Like, oh my God, I love Cloud9 because BMW is so cool. Or like,
what if it's mysterious because it's like Palantir?
But it is. It's an unknown financial technology company. So first of all, it's not going to be a cool sponsor, right? Unless it's like Cash App or something.
Dude, you don't even know. There are a lot of fintech European
guaranteed. It's some shady cryptocurrency that no one's ever heard of to go along with the shady org. Guild video has only 3,600 views on YouTube. Oh wow, that is kind of an ouch.
It had a lot more on the Twitter embed though, because you have to remember
they should use one of David Beckham's 12 tweets. 12
maybe, but you guys need to remember, like YouTube like the gaming content consumption is weird. A lot of the announcement stuff isn't consumed like archive content. It's all viewed off of the social embeds. So no, guys, I'm gonna go to bat. Like I think it is a little bit popular right now to criticize the Guild because how they came out and everything. I'm
William,
liking what
okay,
I'm seeing.
Hold on. Can we just take 2 seconds here?
No,
get back to Earth where on this. I know on your planet this seems like an interesting deal, but on this planet, right? You have this star, David Beckham, who has lots of money, right?
Yep.
If he truly believed in the I have to stop. William, the apologist, Collis.
Yeah, which one is actually the Canadian?
Guys, it wouldn't be you know what? All right, whatever. Yeah. It was that video worked on me. I was hooked on that announcement video.
No. To William's point, we often have to take different sides for the sake of good conversation. So props to William for always making the effort to take sometimes the very difficult side. I often get the easy side.
Paul made me take the "It's good StarCraft 2 was canceled" side. So
you also took the "It's bad StarCraft is canceled" side though. So
it hurt too much. There's no way I can pretend that's good.
Hold on, let's go back to David Beckham. David Beckham has hundreds of millions of dollars. He could easily invest a few million in an esports team that he believes in, where he has a good chunk of equity. His incentives are tied to the success of the team, right? Where he uses his celebrity to increase the value of his equity. That seems normal to me, right? Normal, earthly type of business deal.
Oh, okay, Mr. Free
But from the planet
capitalist.
Zorg, now we pay $20 million to a guy who frankly, I guarantee doesn't give a shit about Guild Esports, right? He's contractually obligated to do a photo shoot and some tweets about it. He's collecting a check. And if Guild succeeds or fails, he doesn't care. He got his $20 million.
If someone walked up to you though tomorrow and gave you that deal, even if you knew nothing about the market, wouldn't you take it in an instant?
Sure, Guild Esports can give me $10 million. I'll tweet about them how great they are.
Guys, counterpoint. Like, and I'm serious. Like, particularly from you, Paul. Like, isn't this just Beckham? Like, yes, you're right.
It's great for David Beckham. No question.
Yeah, and that's sort of my point here. Like, yes, there is a world where David Beckham invests $5 million, goes all in, right? Like, there's that world, right? That is not how David Beckham became one of the highest earning celebrities. He extracts his values. And he may very well believe in this business, but that doesn't mean he doesn't want to get paid the maximum amount possible, right?
But here's my issue. Shoes I put myself in, because it's the shoes that I know best, is I'm an investor in Guild Esports, right? Yep. I'm one of the $50 million that has gone into Guild Esports. I'm losing my mind. I'm pissed if 20 of my 50 million has gone to pad David Beckham's already heavily padded pockets so he can do a few tweets and not give a shit about the team. Right? Like, fundamentally, is this the best use of $20 million? Because look, Guild Esports is going to be like every other esports team. They're going to sell hoodies. They're going to try and win some games, and they're going to make content, right? Like every other esports team on the planet. Does this help them sell more hoodies? Yes. Could they spend that $20 million better to sell more hoodies? Probably yes. Could you get celebrities to invest?
You could argue, could you just launch a hoodie business? I mean, like but no, I mean, look, it's interesting. I'm watching this. Let's keep an eye on it, because I think I actually am a little more sympathetic to the Guild side. So it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out. I think you're going to be surprised, Paul. I think you're going to be surprised.
I don't think you can defend that kind of deal, William. You have a guy who's not invested at all. You've just handed $20 million to him. He has the incentives aren't aligned whatsoever. Zero. And then like mystery sponsors, and like this is a train wreck of all train wrecks. And the only guy who's going to be happy in all this is David Beckham. David Beckham is golden.
He's the smartest one.
He's the smartest one.
But Paul, maybe we should learn a lesson from this and do mystery sponsor announcements to stretch out the excitement. We should be like, stay to the end of the next live stream to figure out who our new,
Chad says you're way too cracked out. Chad, I am not cracked out, convinced of the future on this one. And says, I'm sorry. Martin says it's a shame that the power balance hasn't shifted far enough that the celebs are begging to be attached yet. There's this weird dynamic, because there are cases where celebs have invested, like Drake invested real dollars into 100 Thieves. Scooter Braun invested real dollars into 100 Thieves, right? So there are celebs who invest their dollars and their incentives are aligned. Like, this should never have happened. The Guild example is a weird example because the investors should have stopped it, right? Like, the people holding the purse strings should never have allowed this to happen. This is why it's weird. This is why it sort of skews the conversation.
Martin here. I think in 5 years the investors won't allow this, but right now attaching a huge name to your brand could be something that sells you a lot of hoodies.
It's weird, right? Because it's this incestuous circle where Guild promises millions of dollars to Beckham if he attaches his name to it. Then he does. Then they raise millions of dollars on the back of his name being attached to it, which they then promptly give back to him. Right? Like,
it's an zero loss.
it's a very incestuous circle. I have very, very bad feelings about this one. Let's switch topics. Let's move on, guys. Let's talk about 2K games. 2K games. because it's basketball, and we always have to. I feel like we have to have a basketball thing in for Lindsay at least once a
Lindsay
show, right?
We all love basketball.
I'm very okay with this rule.
Just like we have to have something for like we have to have something sort of Blizzard Heroes for William. We got to have something, and for me, some stupid fundraise, some stupid financing.
There's like a quota. There's like a quota.
There's the quota.
William has to have HOTS. Lindsay has to have basketball, and Paul has to have like random company wide doing consumer facing targeted micro sales raises. It's like that's every podcast. You just listen to every episode of our podcast.
No, but this one's interesting because it's the first I've heard of this. 2K Games reportedly adds unskippable in-game ads to NBA 2K21. The ads appear in the PS4, Xbox One, and PC versions of the game. They're unskippable advertisements, so you can't get past them. You have to watch them. And basically, they take the place of loading screens. So they're unskippable, attached to a pregame video called My Team Season 2, Episode 7, that's auto-started in a loading screen that takes longer than the ad runs. I'm curious, Lindsay, if you're playing NBA 2K21, you're getting a loading screen anyways, right? Mm-hmm. Do you care that it's an ad?
I hope that they stick to that rule. UFC did not, and it went poorly. The new UFC game that was just released, they put ads in it, and people were pissed and hated it. Put that on the list of things that EA has angered people about.
But you play mobile games, right? Mm-hmm. Like you. Yeah. I would argue a lot of the games you play are mobile games. There's a lot of unskippable ads there. Mm-hmm. Why not the same sort of reaction?
Because usually the mobile games are a secondary form of entertainment, so I just go to the primary and come back and forth.
Okay. So what you're saying is mobile advertising is a terribly ineffective industry.
Oh yeah, like I said, I've spent $0 on mobile games. I just wait. But with
you're like the one person in Farmville who's like, soon my crops, soon.
Yeah, we'll just watch the 30 seconds because I don't care. No, but for in-game ads, if they stick to just the loading screen, then I think it's fine. But if they try to go past that, I don't see that going over well.
Yeah, I didn't get why this. I don't want to seem insensitive because I do think there's risks with advertising being inserted into games, but a couple things. One is it's a loading screen, which right now, do you know how many times I have read those auto tips on the loading screen for any game I've ever played? Press X to draw your sword, hold up to activate the quick toolbar.
You're 65 hours into the game.
Yeah, I would like an ad. I would significantly prefer a Mountain Dew commercial than being reminded. At least part of me is and the other thing is, it's not I would get the frustration if it was taking longer than the loading screen, but if you're going to be there and ads are part of the sports experience. I might also get the frustration if it were Halo and a Doritos ad, because it kind of takes you out of the Halo universe. You're dropping in to go fight the flood and Dorito. You're it would, but Doritos, I'd be oh, this isn't Halo. Now I am reminded I'm just playing a game. I would get it, but ads are a part of the sports viewing experience. So this is one to me where I have to believe this is, I have to be honest, I don't see this as a problem, guys.
I'm surprised neither of you think it's a problem.
I don't see it as a problem.
But don't you see that there's a potential slippery slope here? Because one thing that's happening from a hardware perspective is loading times are getting shorter, right? And all the new consoles are promising in some sort of way, zero loading times, right? Seamless transitions. Negatively. Yeah. No, but as these storage technologies get better and things loading times come down until eventually they're zero, right?
Yeah.
So now you're introducing weight that maybe would never be there otherwise. And do you not think there's some slippery slope here where eventually Halo does have a Doritos ad, and then you look at your gun and there's some ad on that, and then there, the monsters are, walking around with a sign. He's twirling a sign, Subway sign.
I think this is not. I think it's just a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope fallacy, right? Just we're not there yet. Yes, if we get there, it'll be a problem. I don't have a problem with ads, which are part of a sporting experience, being injected into a load screen that's going to be there anyway, because the ad is going to be better than the tooltip. So, like, and yes, there are many worlds where it would be bad and it would make me upset to have it. But this is not that world. It's not that instant. And I also think game developers are smart enough to realize, like it won't, I don't think you'll ever see an ad like this in Halo, because the Halo devs will say, no, this isn't how we want to, if this isn't the right fit for in-game advertising. This is a place where you can monetize. I'd say go for it.
I would have thought that they'll look at it and say, oh, an extra 2 or 3 seconds won't matter. Nobody will know. And then that will continue to build. And I also do think it's kind of crazy that if you pay for a game, I would expect no advertisements.
So Greg and Adam brought up the same point. They just asked it differently.
I would think.
Well, Lindsay, I'm curious. So Greg said, don't you pay for the game so you don't have to get ads? Mobile games are free, but you can pay to make them go away. And Adam says, if NBA 2K does it, does that mean the game will be cheaper? Can I pay $3 to disable ads? Like, do you see a future where they put ads in and then make you pay to take them out?
Like, I mean, that's the business model on mobile. Like, and we're not surprised, you know. But again,
the difference is you're paying $60 or $70 for the game to begin with, right?
Well, but I think we're imputing like kind of like I think publishers are smart enough not to try to overmix the monetization models. Like, I think again, because we've seen such aggressive ad models on the phone, we're primed to be like anytime, and because ads in PC games are scary. Let's be honest, they're scary. Because but then again, okay, so I'm playing, maybe this is just me, but I'm playing Death Stranding right now. I've talked about this, right? That has ads all over for Monster and AMC, literally in the game world. You drink Monster to raise your stamina before you go out, and your character's like refreshing. And when you take a shower, a commercial plays for Norman Reedus's ride on AMC. Like, and you know what? That feels a little weird to me. That feels aggressive, immersion breaking, right? Like, so I understand why people are uncomfortable about it. And I think Hideo got a bit of a free pass for it because it's Hideo and he's quirky, when really I think it's just like, it probably shouldn't be in the game. But like, I also think devs are smart enough to know what these limits are. And will there be some titles that go too far? Yes. Will the industry react and rein things back in? Yes. I don't think this is an instance of the industry going.
This literally already happened, though. EA Sports has apologized for putting in-game advertisements into the recently released UFC 4. This was 1 month ago. While intrusive, unskippable advertisements can be common in free-to-play games, users pointed to UFC's $60 price tag as a reason enough that they should not have their gameplay interrupted by ads, especially when they are already some present through in-game signage. And they put up ads during, replay moments or down moments in the fights, or same thing as loading screens.
But that's different. That's more aggressive. That's interrupting the flow. That's not what's happening here. Hey, you were on my side. Don't go back, Lindsay. Don't go back.
I said if they keep it to loading screens, it'd be okay. But there's already been an example of
but this is what I mean. It's a different developer. We're going down this slippery slope fallacy. Yes. As we experiment with advertising in games, people will make mistakes. And also, by the way, probably advertising should not be as prevalent in games, if at all, in many types of titles, particularly when there's a fixed price upfront fee, right? But all of this doesn't mean it's not good. Like, look, at the end of the day, if the publishers make more money and they're not taking anything away from the experience, that's the definition of win-win. They can make a better game. They can finance more development. So I don't know. I tend to think I am in general a fan of better ways to monetize the game experience that don't come with a direct dollar sign to the consumer. I'm a huge fan of the free-to-play business model. I've made no bones about it, right? I think it's a brilliant business model. Let's not get frustrated, because if we really want these games to stop being $70 and start being free to play, this is how it starts, with experimentation and new revenue sources coming in otherwise dead time. And again, I go back to how fed up I am of every tooltip. Like, I just defy any gamer in the world.
William, we need to make a shooter or something that is 100% monetized through ads, like a full-blown desktop shooter experience. It's just 100% ad driven.
You joke. It would be a great idea. And when you reload, you're like, Mountain Dew, like sponsored by Mountain Dew. Do you know how awesome that would be? And like,
no, I don't.
And then
every
to
voice
respawn-
line, every
Yeah.
graphic, every environmental thing, every.
No, but like that's a good
Wow.
idea because if you lean into it and own it, it could work. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
It could work. I just don't trust it to work yet. But there's only one way to build that trust too. So
True. I like the sports show type of loading screen they had this year, where they had players playing their player in games, and newscasters talking about 2K tournaments. Yeah, I mean, there's better things you can do than a tooltip, but I think to William's point, it's like replacing a tooltip with an ad. You haven't really lost anything. I'd be fine with ads in game as long as they don't destroy immersion and pause gameplay. Yeah, I agree. Games like League just slam the ads onto those banners. Posters in COD, no problem. I actually think it would be a fun experiment to see just how much advertising you could ram into a game before you offend the player, right? Like, and if the game is good and it's free, and every cosmetic is free, and every gun skin is free, and right, and all you have to do is put up with just an inordinate amount of advertising everywhere.
listen, if Subway made a game where I had to build a sandwich in a certain amount of time, I'd probably play it.
You really play
Lindsay,
Sandwich
Lindsay's like,
Artist
I don't even-
Simulator.
The Subway edition. I'd do it.
Lindsay's literally saying like, I don't even need them. I will just play the ad. Like, she's like, there doesn't even need to be a game. Like, if there's an ad. Specifically if it's Subway though. If it's yeah.
Make the ads into themed load screen minigames. That's actually quite clever, Arden.
Well, but
I agree.
Yeah, that's a really
Like
good
what
idea.
Google
And-
does. You know,
And Chris says, as Twitch continues to push ads in game will be accepted by younger. I agree. Like I think we're going to get to the place where you have free to play, not monetized by skins or like microtransactions, but by ads completely, potentially.
I think so too. I think so too. But guys, by the way, like that's not bad. Like most media are monetized in this way. Like literally. Like it's not like this scary business model that wrecks things. Like how do you think television makes money, right?
Yep.
You know. I don't know.
Although I wish I could buy my TV a new skin or something.
I know, wouldn't that be so cool? Or if you could like change what they're wearing on Friends, you're like, you're all in clown costumes.
Let's move on, guys. Let's talk about kind of a fun article. We can all pat ourselves on the back on this one. Study: kids who play video games have enhanced brain function as adults. According to a recent study, playing video games helps kids develop brain function and improves cognitive response well into adulthood. Half of adults, the article says half of adults in the US play games, and there's this serious benefit that comes from doing so. If I remember correctly, the article did mention that not only improved brain function, but like improved memory, cognitive function, etc. So playing games helps develop moral reasoning. Lots of positive things here, right? Very different from the typical like playing games destroys kids, makes them violent, whatever. Is this the nail in the coffin for those kinds of arguments, guys? Or like, are we just going to continue seeing both sides of this argument happen back and forth, and one study that says it's terrible and one study says it's great? And I don't know. William, you're a parent, right?
Yeah, well, that I actually have a big.
Would you want your kids playing video games as early as possible?
Definitely, but it's because, well, as early as possible. Like, I mean, you don't want to come across as like you're a crazy parent who's like, here, 4-year-old, here's Call of Duty, enjoy. Like,
why not? The Koreans are starting at 4. You better get started.
Like, literally, I'm gonna start to wake him up with like a whistle. I'm gonna be like, let's go. Like, Baneling splits micro training now. But like,
Kovacs homework.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, like rubber band. I need you to see all the rubber band shots now. But like the thing I think about this is it's like obvious to me that games are good for you, that they engage reasoning skills and thought processes, and at the very minimum, they're at least an active media. They're not like a film that you consume passively or Netflix and go brain dead for. Like, they ask something of you. So they probably should be better because the way our body works is the parts that we use get stronger. So even a media that even has a modicum of interactivity probably does more for the brain than one that doesn't, right? Like just intuitively to me. So it's like doesn't. But the big thing I see, and this is a little bit different thing, is as a parent, I see so many parents badly misunderstanding gaming to the detriment of their child, right? Because they think it's this evil media, so they keep it away from them. And then what's worse is because they're not educated about gaming, you can't keep games. So when their kids do start to play games, they have no idea how to guide the kids towards games that actually have value or engagement or artistic merit. And worse, because they're a family that doesn't like games in general, they don't want to spend on them. So they just let the kids do free to play games. And they literally end up in this self-fulfilling prophecy area where they're like, games are bad for you. Look at the junk my kid plays. And the answer is yes, that stuff is junk. It's because you're doing you're literally doing the human equivalent of like having them read like the mail-in flyers that come through your mailbox and saying like it's all books are terrible. Like, yeah, because you're not giving them the Great Gatsby. Come on. So the thing I wish is that there was better parental education about how to present and categorize games to kids in a way that actually led them to titles of redemptive value. Because the reality is kids are playing games today. You can't keep it away as a parent. They have benefits. But what is terrible is when parents don't engage, and so the kids just end up in these lowest common denominator titles. And that, for me, I think that's when we'll see change, is when parents actually realize, like, oh, like Untitled Goose Game might be an okay thing to play with my child, and they might get more from it than they will, say, watching PJ Masks on, Netflix.
But, William, let me just push back. And Lindsay, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, right? A study like this takes years and years to do, right? Because to determine if a kid playing video games enhance their brain function, right?
Yeah.
You have to start following them as a kid till adulthood, right? And then to make this kind of determination, which means that chances are the group that they followed, maybe they started following them a decade ago, right? Maybe 2 decades ago, right? And
they did the study right.
Right? If they did the study right? And so potentially many of these kids were not playing like Candy Crush or like a lot of the things that I call kind of garbage, right? They were playing maybe Civilization or World of Warcraft, right? Games that had lots of depth and you could seriously associate with enhanced brain function.
Yeah,
right?
Wing Commander, Paul. Wing Commander.
Wing Commander is a great game. Don't get me started on that.
I just don't even start Paul on Wing Commander.
But like, could it be that these studies, if we redo them potentially today, that the amount of quality, sort of deep, games that require significant amount of thinking, strategic thinking, memory, etc., is not as high as it used to be 20 years ago, right? 20 years ago, the proportion of games that required a lot of strategic thinking, I would argue, is higher than today, where you have so much casual and hyper casual kind of stuff, and even the Fortnites of the world don't require the same level of sort of deep strategic thought as a Civilization.
But you can extrapolate that to media as a trend as a whole. I mean, TV wasn't the same as it was 10 or 15 years ago, and there was much more likelihood that people were spending their time watching programs that were more beneficial or more entertaining or had more artistry or whatever. So I think that's going forward. I don't think the concern is, are kids going to grow up to be violent because of violent video games? I think it's, are kids going to grow up to be critical thinkers based on the way that they're consuming media, whether it's games or other types of media. So I think it more so goes to William's point of part of being a parent is teaching your children how to consume things intelligently, be it games or something else. I don't think there's a reason to limit game consumption whatsoever.
I'm not suggesting, but what I am saying is there is a difference between saying games are going to won't make your kids violent, right? Which is still a positive. The games won't make your kids violent, and saying games will enhance your kid's brain function, right? There is an extra step
for sure. Yeah, there's a message.
Yeah, we've gone from like negative rights to positive. Like we've gone from like games won't wreck your kid's life to like games might be good for your kid. But what blows my mind? Like what blows my mind is like this is a hard concept for people to wrap their head, because like guys, like Like, you wouldn't be surprised if you're like, oh, my kid who plays chess is like learning a lot. Like,
Right.
it's a game. Like, it is a game. Like, why are you surprised? If you think that chess could be good for your kid, then by golly, like, I have a whole world of things to show you that I would argue are more interactive and require, or more than that, but require significantly elevated decision making like chess.
I love Greg's comment. Greg says it's generational. Need baby boomers to disappear. And then he said, I remember growing up and being told I would be stupid if I played games all day.
Guess who's in charge of all of the government and most major companies right now? That's putting out research that says that video games make you violent.
Yes, but that same cabal also just greenlit Jiu-Jitsu with Nicolas Cage, which looks like the absolute greatest idea for a movie of all time.
Oh my god!
Just put Nicolas Cage in there. It's the greatest idea.
We cannot fault all of that because just so you guys don't know, just in case you're curious, the plot of Jiu-Jitsu is every 3 years an alien bounty hunter comes to Earth to do battle with Jiu-Jitsu masters to determine the fate of humanity.
Seems
Thank
reasonable.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
I don't
you.
know.
It's Predator meets Karate Kid, and it needed to happen. It's literally, they have run out of 80s movies to like just remake, so now they're putting them in a blender, and it's just better than we'd hoped.
If only this was a video game. Cam says aim labs now. Yeah, like yelling at your kids. If only my mom read this 15 years ago, Martin. I'm so sorry, but we're all in the same boat. Greg says I got my kids on ABC Mouse for learning games. Yeah, that's. I mean, I think you got to. It's like not giving your kids like exposure to like tablets now, like like iPads or something. They just end up behind. I think if you don't.
Okay,
There's a good way to do all of it. It's not impossible.
Can I tell a personal story that like is actually a deeply affecting moment in my life that comes from, was it Cam's comment where he's like, tell my parents that, or it was Martin who said that?
Sure.
So this is just like, because I actually kind of went through the same thing with my parents a little bit, where I don't think they were super involved, into games or anything. Like, I don't think it was like a big, I mean, I was allowed games, but I don't think it was. And then the interesting thing that happened to me, and I still remember this, oh, that's good, is my father is a professor, and he was looking at Sony when the PlayStation came out, right? And he like brought a PlayStation home and was like, oh, I have to look at this for work. Do you want to play with me? And I was like, sure, let's play it. And it was, wow, this is like big screen. I did not expect this. I'm so beautiful. I just, thank you. This is the whole podcast should be. But like, and I think because he actually had to play a game and look at it through the lens of work, and actually he was like surprised by the depth of the experience and what was there. I remember after that moment, that was when I really started to like get a lot more games, that my parents started to let me play games more, that they weren't like actively monitoring my time to like 1 hour. Like, it was literally like my dad had an experience where he realized, oh, this is actually pretty cool, and it doesn't seem that bad, right? And that's the thing, like, I wish parents had that, because I think if they actually were playing the games, and again, part of the problem is they get driven to these free-to-play games that are a mess, but if they had experiences like that, I think you'd have a lot more happier kids, and I think you'd actually have a better society and much more sophisticated gaming tastes, more of a connoisseurship in gaming. So, I don't know. Anyway, that didn't come out. I don't know. I like that story. I hope you guys liked it. It was a personal moment for me. I have tears in my eyes to deal with it.
William, the hurdle is getting them to play, right? That's the struggle.
Yeah, and it is. But like, how is this a hurdle? Like, this is what I don't get. Like this is like, the hurdle is getting people to like watch a movie. The hurdle is getting people to read a book. Like, people, it's fun. It's not like the hurdle. You
could offer my mom $10 million to sit down to play for a couple of hours. She would never take it. There's no interest. You know what I mean?
I'm in that group with a lot of games. I won't lie.
There's just sometimes it's usually a generational thing. Lindsay's just weird, but
yeah. I don't like doing things I'm bad at. I'm very good at reading books.
Lindsay's just like, I love it. I have 2 phones, so when the mobile ad's playing one, I just go to the other.
Just go straight to the other.
I wait for my crops to grow.
Although, the foldable phones, guys, this is so
cool.
This is a big moment for gaming on mobile, because now, like, this screen is way better than the tiny little phone screen in terms of a medium to play on.
But by the way, for people listening to the audio, Paul's holding up a foldable phone, and it's substantially bigger. It's about 2x the
it folds into something that's like an iPad mini, basically.
Yeah, an iPad mini. Yeah.
Well, guys, let's move on to a different story. Let's talk about I mean, I actually love this announcement. It makes the business of esports look so cool. Chris says, "Nice flex, Paul."
Exactly.
Yes.
Paul's
Flexing
like,
my phone.
Another thing that I love is my diamond collection.
It would be the shoes.
I think this stacked vault of gold bars.
This live stream sponsored by Rolex. Rolex. The only way to play your mobile games is with the Rolex on your wrist. If Rolex is listening, we would love to be sponsored by you.
It's true though. I play so much better with a Rolex on my wrist. It's just the weight of it. It helps with there's anecdotal evidence. It helps with carpal tunnel. That's a great line. Anecdotal evidence.
Anecdotal evidence. Now let's talk about Venn because they're in the news. The lovely folks at Venn. This is from Variety.com. Venn, Craig says, does this mean that Paul is gaming on his phone now? No. But if I wanted to, I'd have a big screen. Venn raises $26 million in funding to expand gaming and esports network. Streaming startup Venn, 2 months after its initial official launch, announced that it closed a $26 million Series A round of financing to expand its gaming and esports network. The funding brings Venn to $43 million total raised to date, because they had raised $19 million not that long ago, I think less than a year ago. The latest round was led by broadcaster Nexstar Media Group, and of course the good folks at Bitcraft, because if it's an overpriced round, it wouldn't be one without Bitcraft. Yeah, Bitcraft can sponsor us too, I don't care. Which had previously invested in Venn's seed round. Now, what's interesting, and it's not in this article, but I will say, and this sums up kind of my thoughts on this thing. So Venn, for those of you who don't know, produces gaming content. They have sort of a handful of shows that they play on Twitch, YouTube, etc. My big criticism is Venn has always been the shows are trying to capture gamer lifestyle. They're trying so hard to be gamer lifestyle that it's like they've taken it too far and there's nothing gaming about it anymore. And it's just like a lifestyle show that's kind of cringy and borderline gamery. And I've never understood why anyone would watch their content. Evidently, not many people are. I will say, because I did look up numbers, their average viewership in August, because I only had numbers from August, their average viewership in August was 216 viewers. For a company that has probably blown through their first 19 million on very expensive real estate in New York and LA. They have in the Oculus and downtown New York, they have this huge set and retail space. And then in LA, they have very expensive studio space. So they blew through 19 million. They're having to raise another 26 million and an average viewership of 216 people. I will say the average viewership for the podcast and actually the live stream, guys, if you count individual viewers, like individual viewers, we far exceeds Venn's viewership by a good amount, and by actually orders of magnitude. And so we did it without spending 43 million. So I don't know what that says about us or about Venn, William.
You want to give me 43 million to do it again.
Paul, you just wanted to do this story to flex. This is just like the
I led into it with a flex. My segue was perfect.
This is just like our podcast is significant, is orders of magnitude more popular than Venn. How much are we worth? Ha ha ha. No, but I mean, fundamentally,
it allows me, because you always look at comparables when you're trying to value your business, right? Reasonably, if they've raised 43 million to date, you've got to think they've probably the valuation at Venn is on the order of 150 million, I would think, in that range, right? It's not unreasonable. Somewhere in the 100 to 200 million range. I mean, we've got to be at least worth twice that, right? 400 to 500 million here at the Business of Esports.
No, 10x. Come on,
orders of magnitude.
Dude, I only
seriously,
I only count by zeros after things.
So. Let me ask a specific question to both of you: is there really room in the market for this gamer lifestyle kind of crap, right? Where it's not gaming, and it's not gaming adjacent. Even it's like they're truly just. It's like trying to do a show about skateboard culture that maybe worked in the MTV era, but it feels like there's no place for it now. Am I wrong?
That's the part for me that has me concerned about the network a little bit. Is you're right. Like the issue with Venn, and I've tried to watch a bit of Venn because I like to watch everything in the space. Like I know what's. And the issue is it's everything but the games. Like there's no it's everything but the games. But the thing is, you're in gaming because of the games, and all the stuff makes sense around the games because of the games. Like, why is Tony Hawk cool and everybody should buy Tony Hawk's clothing line? This is a really bad example, but
let me just give you an example of a show they have, right? They have this show called, I don't even remember what it's called, but basically what they do is they send a crate of mystery items to a bunch of streamers, right? So, and then they do this show where they all open up their crate and it has they have to eat the bowl of worms that was in the crate, or they have to so it's a little bit like there was this show with, what's his face with, where people had to do similar kind of stunts like that to win.
So it's Fear Factor?
It's Fear Factor, but with streamers. And I'm going, this is not gaming anymore, right? Other than the fact that you picked streamers. It's not even gaming lifestyle. I don't even know what it is.
I appreciate very strongly the need to differentiate content play versus Twitch, because I like the fact that they're smart enough to say, well, we're probably going to have to be differentiated from Twitch, right? Like, we're not just going to launch another gaming streaming platform because that market is very difficult, very complicated. And I do think there is a big opportunity in lifestyle content. I really do. But I think that there has to be a balance. And I think
that has to still have some gaming in it.
Yeah, I also think if you're going to do lifestyle, I think the missing piece here is you're going to do a pure lifestyle content play. I hate to tell you, there's lots of lifestyle content. Like, you're actually just competing with Twitter or Instagram or classic terrestrial television. Like there are, it's because the universe they're looking at is esports, and they're saying there's not a lot of non-game lifestyle content plays. What they're missing is, it's because they narrowed the universe in such a way that excluded their base. So, like, if you're going to make shows that are about people eating weird things, it's not a gaming show. It's a broader based entertainment show. And I like those shows. I liked Fear Factor. I might watch that, but it's an unnecessary market limiter. As soon as you erode the core, right, while you're there is the gaming, if you take that away, it doesn't need to be a gaming subsegment vertical anymore. So I don't know, but I mean, like, look, Paul, though, because I'm the apologist on this podcast, the entrepreneur in me says these guys are doing an incredible job. They've raised $46 million. Like, and you can criticize their content all you want, but 46 million, they've raised 46 million. Like, good for them, you know?
Judging by Paul's face, he feels the same way.
Lindsay, do you think the way you save Venn is you put them on linear TV, right? That
Maybe.
They've burnt the bridges with gaming. Like, because here's the weird part for me, right?
What though? There's a bunch of other things I'd put on linear TV before I put on this. As William
True.
A million lifestyle brands out there.
What's weird to me is the investors are not savvy enough here, I think, to realize that once you burn that bridge with gamers, once you burn that authenticity bridge, right? I don't think you get it back. Like, I don't think you have a second life or a second chance, right? Once you're written off as cringe or like just not relevant, I don't know if you can ever get that audience back. And what's weird to me is the investors were okay with them blowing through the $19 million on real estate, ignored the fact that no one's watching, ignored the fact that the audience they're going after thinks they're cringy and not authentic, and yet still believes there's a future here. And in fact, the article says they believe their future is potentially on linear TV, right? Not on Twitch or not on. And I'm just going, and in my mind, I'm going, this is now a way more competitive environment, right? Now you're not going up against, Paul and William's Rinky Dink podcast. You're going up against, NBC, blockbuster show.
Hey, don't criticize. Our podcast has an incredible viewership right now.
And is more profitable than Ben, just to be clear.
But no, I take your point. Like, despite all the success we've had with the podcast, we're not MSNBC, right? Like, we're not. And that's totally fine. Like, but it is true that when you shift competitive differentiation set, it's a much harder problem. Like, it would be difficult for me to imagine raising $46 million for a new television show today that wasn't greenlit within the context of a studio structure,
Look, and 43 million sounds like a lot of money, right? But Quibi blew through $1.5 billion and couldn't make content that people wanted to watch. So, like,
hey, lay off Quibi because I want to buy those assets.
But you know what excites me about this article is it proves what we believe at the Business of Esports, which is content's king right now, right? And people 100%. Are willing to spend millions and millions of dollars for it, no matter what, almost, right? Like there's literally unlimited demand for it. When you can ignore all these red flags and still put millions more, it means you believe there's unlimited demand.
Yeah. And so really the takeaway is, you guys are getting the best content around. So
for cheap.
Yeah. This is the greatest content you can have that has an obligatory Heroes of the Storm reference baked into it.
I blur out the $19 million set here, though. Right?
Heroes of the Storm, greatest. Yeah, you do. Yeah, Paul blurs out all he has his background filter on, but it's literally just flip phones behind him. It's like 152,000 flip phones. He went all in. He's like, these are great. They'll never depreciate in value.
Chris says 43 million for Twitch channel. AOC bought a laptop. Greg, thank you. You guys should get the 26 million. Josh, that's an interesting point. I don't want the 26 million, right? When you have that much money, you have to spend it, and you end up spending it on stupid things. I'm a big believer in companies raising the amount of money they need to execute on their plan and not a penny more. I just don't know where you spend $26 million here. I actually don't. I know how much it costs to produce content. I know how much it costs to attract talent. I don't know. I have a different view on this. Greg says, sounds like a game show, not gaming. And Martin says, sure, there is room, but it wouldn't be targeted at us, but more at non-gamers wanting to move into it. Maybe. I mean, maybe they will have bigger success.
Who are the non-gamers?
On linear TV.
Who are young kids now who don't play games? You know what I mean? Like, it's just such a mainstream thing. Like, if you're not a gamer today, it's because you don't like gaming. It's not because you haven't been you're not walking down the street and you're like, what? PlayStation? Tell me more. You're like if you don't know, about it, there's not a discovery problem in the industry. So I don't know.
And Josh says, smart. Thank you, Josh. Let's move on, guys. Let's talk about what do you guys want to do? We have a few left here. Cam says Biz Compound. We already raised the 200 million for that, Cam. It's already under construction. Don't worry.
Yeah. Soon I'll be let out of the attic. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, Lindsay has.
We can move Lindsay out of the attic finally into the
cicadas.
Into the Business of Esports compound. Do you guys want to talk about complexity gaming? You guys want to talk about Cloud9 in the news? You want to talk about WoW PvP players? XSET?
I don't know. Let's do. When did you
Martin says, "Where's all the money going?" Fear Factor stuff doesn't cost that. Martin, they spent the first 19 million on the set. Well, if you look it up, there again, the set in New York, their space in New York is in the Oculus downtown, like literally probably the most expensive retail space. Like there's an Apple store across from it, right? Literally the most expensive retail space in New York City. So they spent millions and millions on these sets in New York and LA. Why I don't know. Which one did you want to do, William?
Let's let the listeners decide. Listeners, you tell us what stories.
We said we had WoW PvP, we got Cloud9, and we got Complexity, and we probably have time for a couple of them, maybe one or two. I don't know. What do you guys want to talk about?
No one wants to chime in on any of these. You don't even know.
There's always like this little bit of delay, and I think it's because
it's the stream
our chat system takes in
Paul, it's coming
chats
in
from
now.
all platforms, from like YouTube, LinkedIn.
It's coming in. It's saying, "Here's the storm. Here's the storm. That's all they want to hear about," and that's all I want to talk about. So let's give it.
While we're waiting for people to talk, because Lindsay texted me saying she absolutely wants to talk about this, and it wasn't on my list, but only because I think it's not that interesting.
Oh, okay. I just saw Juju.
But it's Juju Smith-Schuster. This is from Sports Pro Media, launching an athlete-led gaming company, right? Team Diverge aims to... and Lindsay, I'm going to put this all on you. William, I don't want you to say a word on this story because we're going to move on fast. Team Diverge aims to take athlete involvement in esports to a different level, okay? Then I'll read the bullet points. Steelers wide receivers' new venture to create content for Twitch and YouTube. Team Diverge to compete in esports competitions. Gaming HQ and clothing line also in development. If this is not the most generic formula for every esports team on the planet, could you tell me?
I'm happy that he's not trying to do a global event, though, with unnamed investors and we're the future. This is all I needed.
But are you not disappointed a little bit? Come
not
on.
At all.
Do we need another athlete with an esports team doing hoodies with a compound? You know, like
100%. When you watch an NFL game, there is no way to interact with those people. It's going to be so fun.
You think this will be a big success? Juju's Team Diverge.
I don't know if the team structure will be, but I like the idea of more athletes like getting a public presence.
Do you think they should all have their own teams?
No. I don't know how the team thing's going to work out, but I'm all for like the content and the Twitch streams and the hoodies.
I got it. You just want more exposure to athletes in esports. Cam says, sounds bulletproof. Hashtag Team Juju. I hope Bougie is a part of the team. I don't know. Should I know who Bougie is? No, William, who's Bougie?
It's a French.
You told me to be quiet. I'm not allowed to. I'm not allowed to talk on this piece.
Chris says, esports indie game idea. How fast can you set money on fire? Woohoo, go Steelers. Hot stream, yes, Planet. Greg says, wow. So we got WoW and Complexity. Let's do WoW and Complexity. Okay. WoW and Complexity. Let's talk about WoW quickly here. This was an article from .esports. 2 out of 3 most rated. I don't know why they say most rated. It's like highest rated WoW PvP players indefinitely banned by Blizzard. And the article basically says Blizzard issued suspensions to 3 players, 3 suspensions, with 2 players being the highest rated WoW PvP players in its history. So Andreas Raikumini and Renee Swapsy Pinkera, 2 former players for Xset Gaming, have been indefinitely banned a couple of days after reaching the highest 3v3 rating in WoW PvP history. The reason for the ban, they said, was due to bad behavior. Now, the reason this, I think, is an interesting story is when they committed the bad behavior, they were still members of Xset, and Xset, parted ways with them when they were made aware of the behavior. I just think it's particularly interesting, and William, I know you have some thoughts on this, that a team whose entire existence was all about good behavior, getting away from kind of the phase bro culture, right? So early in their history are already having issues with bad behavior. We had this theory that maybe this Xset's entire sort of reason for being might have been just like lip service and not truly believing in their mission. And it seems like that might be the case here, right? Are you reading this the same way?
I mean, I don't want to be critical of Xset, but like, you know, it's a terrible situation when you have your players doing something that they shouldn't, because it does reflect on the organization, right? And I think particularly for an organization like this, that this is literally the antithesis of what they're supposed to be. It is exactly how you can't start a business. Like, I think this is a material issue, because the reality is too, like, people in the industry know teams and bad behavior and cultures and endorsement. And like, if this is how your brand starts, it's what your brand gets known as, you know. There's not a good way. And as much as Xset, I think, was positioned as a rebirth of FaZe, there's a FaZe overhang here. So I don't know.
Every team tries to define their brand in some differentiated way, right? Xset chose this, like, we're the good guys, we're the diversified, we're the, you know, going to be the best, the most gentlemanly, or players, right? Like the most proper, right? We're getting away from everything that made the FaZe culture kind of toxic. And then it seems like the toxicity is still there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be too critical, but like, again, I feel like I'm the apologist this podcast. Like, all I'm doing is just like, well, but like it could just be bad luck. Like, sometimes you sign people you don't really know, you discover things, it gets out. Like, there is that world, right? That's 100% the case. But for me, it's less like, if they knew and still signed people, obviously that's a whole separate problem. I want to give these guys the benefit of the doubt and say they can't possibly have known. You know, like, clearly most people didn't know. It only came out with VOD, with like private VODs that got leaked. So like, this is terrible. But, you know, but
if these guys are capable of bad behavior or not, right? If you spend any time with your players, you probably get to know them enough. I mean, I'm curious, Lindsay, what you think. Does a brand like the holier than thou brand of Xset survive kind of a misstep like this?
Just to be clear, did they release the players when the video surfaced, or when the players were banned?
They said the organization parted ways with the players after being made aware of their behavior. So okay. I think that probably came before the ban, I would guess.
Right. Well, in that case, then I think you can still maintain, because as William said, people do dumb shit all the time. They could have not maybe seen this coming, and I don't know if they can maintain the holier than thou part of it, but they can at least say, okay, we're gonna, you know, work towards doing what we said we were gonna do a little bit more. And look at, when something bad happened, we immediately corrected the situation as best as we could. So
yeah, the question is, like, wouldn't any esports org have let them go? Probably.
It depends on the behavior. Bad behavior is a very
it's kind of generic, kind of like could mean a lot of things.
Did they say like F you someone, or did they like use really derogatory racist term? You know, there's
we don't know what they did. Look, I thought it was interesting in the context of Xset's sort of stated mission and how early on we were in the life of that org.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's more just like the timing is just terrible for an org that's trying to define itself. You know, like it's just it's tough. It's tough. Like, I don't know. It's your worst nightmare as somebody who works hard for it. The reality is, orgs are so much about branding anyway, for as much as Paul makes fun of it. Like, it's just terrible when you have a brand blowback situation like this. So.
But can we talk about a similar, like, related, the complexity story to me is related in some ways, right? And this is complexity expanding their Miller Lite partnership to include live content. Like, not that interesting of a story on its own, but the reason I picked it out is because I thought, you know, complexity has always been, it's in my mind at least, and maybe I'm in the minority here, but in my mind has always been really all about like health and wellness of players and things like that, right? This has been a big part of their brand and how they preach to the market what complexity is all about. And then you go sign a beer deal and it's like,
it's light beer, it's lower calorie.
this is true, but like, does it jive with the brand?
Yeah, I'm not imputing the ill motive you are here. I just think like these teams need sponsors.
No,
alcohol.
and I'm happy for them, right?
Like, come on, like football is like sports are about being healthy, and there's beer sponsors there. You know, like come on, like what are these guys gonna do? You know, I know you wanted to get this one in here, but I'm just like, what are they not gonna take a Miller Lite sponsorship?
William, look, if Miller Lite wanted to sponsor the podcast, we'd be opening Miller Lights every night, right? Like, I'm a capitalist through and through. I have no issue with them sponsoring. I'm always trying to understand how valuable is that kind of brand identity for these esports orgs, and how closely do they stick to it, right? To me, it's kind of a theme that I'm starting to see in the industry, which is everyone's trying to find their own niche, their own place in the org universe, and how tightly they can stick to that identity, I think will be interesting.
So what you're saying is the guild is brilliant for not announcing who it sponsors with so they can maintain its identity.
They can take any sponsor they want as if now they're all mysteries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't conflict with their brand at all.
Right.
Cam says that they break TOS. The WoW guys, I assume they did something very bad to get them banned, especially when you're that high profile of a player.
It's gotta be if you know, like Alinity can pour liquor for her cats, you know, like it's like, yeah.
Okay, and finally, someone did ask for the Cloud9, so let's talk about it. It's the last story we're going to do today. CS:GO. This is from essentiallysports.com. CS:GO team Cloud9 splurges just shy of $6 million on their complete roster. There's not much more to this article than that. They just signed their last player from Astralis. They're paying him $2.1 million. $6 million to me seemed like a very large sum for CS:GO team when the likes of 100 Thieves are pulling out of CS:GO. I don't know.
That's what is so confusing to me about, because I think most people read this and see the eye-popping price tag, and I'm like, guys, we're not even there yet. Like, can you imagine if it was an NBA headline, like, Boston Celtics spend $6 million to complete their, like, we'd all be like,
wow,
best deal ever. Yeah, like who managed that? That's like the salary number is not the thing here. The thing here is, it is a high salary number, let's be honest. The thing here is, one, it's public, which seems intentional. It seems to be some sort of signaling here. But two is, it's why this game? Like, why this game? Because of all the esports, CS:GO feels the most vulnerable to me right now. It has the most risk with a direct competitor, Valorant, coming into the market. It's the oldest. It's the least closed of an ecosystem, right? Like, all the other tier 1 esports have some sort of defensibility mechanism. CS:GO is still a bit like, oh, good luck. Hope you qualify. It's
if they
weird
made
to me.
Really cool promotional video introducing the members of their team, do you think you would be more on board?
So mad at you, Lindsay. I'm so mad at you. I'm mad. Yes, I would be on board. I would be on board if it has Vikings and a green screen and blends comedy with headshots. Then I'm there.
$6 million.
That was worth more. Yeah.
No, the number seems high. The number seems high, right? But this almost feels personal from Cloud9. Like again, part of their brand identity is like some sort of importance in the CS:GO universe, and they feel like they have to spend. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
But
like Shroud, like Skadoodle, Stewie, all these guys came out of Cloud9, right? Like,
you're just saying words. You're
just words.
I'm just teasing you. I know who those people are. but I don't know. I mean, maybe, sure, but like it's like they did the whole Flashpoint thing, and that doesn't really. I mean, remember we had the Cloud9 like leads on, and they were really excited about Flashpoint. I wonder if it's something to do with them having a real content strategy around the game, right? And being really and basically recognizing, hey, because this is less publisher policed, we have an opportunity to carve something out here. And so we're going to spend aggressively for the top talent, right? But it is a bit weird, because I sort of thought the whole advantage for doing an owned league like Flashpoint was to get a handbrake on the
salaries.
But now it's like the worst of both worlds, because like you did all this work, set up a closed league, and you didn't actually cap the talent fees and everything that were what was a big impetus, we were told, right? That's what they told us. Like, a big impetus to doing it was to get some growth. Like, that that doesn't seem to have held here. So it's very strange strategically, but
I
don't
really
know, we'll
suspect it's because they believe CSGO is part of the Cloud9 identity. Like, I really do. And I don't know where else, like, it's clear to me that this is where they've decided they want to find wins, right? Like, the Overwatch League stuff's not working out great. I don't know what else they're sort of seriously involved in. But to me, CSGO seems so much at the core of their identity.
Like, why CSGO when there's Valorant? Like, this is the thing I don't get. Is like, if I were going to put that amount of money into a shooter, it would be Valorant today, because you know what their trajectory looks like, and you know that the franchise model has worked on the LCS, or at least has worked better on the LCS side. Like, I don't know. It's just weird to me. Like, but I don't know.
Brand identity related in my mind, William. I don't know. I come back to that.
In no way. I have never associated C9 with CSGO. I mean, unless I've missed something. I've never thought that was their home turf.
Really? That's the association I always make.
Maybe I'm just not enough of a shooter guy. I don't know. I mean, I know that they had a lot of shooter folks, but like, then for me, what Cloud9 has always stood for is one of the first teams to effectively go multi-game to high performance quickly. Like, it's sort of the opposite, is like they de-levered themselves from a single title. You know, like, you want to take a brand identity, it's like Astralis that is the CSGO only team, you know?
True.
Like, yeah, I don't know.
Guys, but before we move on to our last segment, I do want to say a quick word. One of the fastest growing segments of gaming and esports today is gambling. If you guys are a family office, institutional investor of any kind, Esports Entertainment Group, ticker symbol GMBL, might be one of the best ways to get exposure to that gaming and betting space. They're NASDAQ listed, fully regulated, focused on esports betting and esports entertainment in general. I highly recommend taking a look at the company, esportsentertainmentgroup.com. Having said that, I just need to put this disclaimer. I'm not an investment advisor. I'm not selling stock in the company. Do your own research, get advice from a licensed professional if you're looking to invest in the field. Guys, let's do the last sort of our usual what are we playing this week, everyone's favorite segment. I will just say there's a couple of comments here. Greg says Miller Lite sponsors the Cowboys, so it's cross promotion. I guess so. It's probably true. It's probably where the intro or something came from. Cam says Overwatch League can't even make qualifying offers. Yeah, Overwatch League is in trouble. Cloud9 has had some massive CSGO history. They could still go hard into Valorant. Yeah, I don't know. They're probably just so well financed that $6 million is not even an issue. So, Lindsay, what are you playing this week?
Oh, I didn't play anything this week. I finished the Witcher Saga and I did a lot of work.
Okay.
I read the Witcher Saga.
You read the Witcher Saga, not played the Witcher Saga.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Interesting. Why when you have the choice of playing it?
Oh, the books come before the game, and it was a fantastic story.
Interesting. William, you?
I have been, working, so I'm also boring, but I will say I've been playing a bit more Valorant. I'm not gonna lie. I've been playing a bit more Valorant. I'm getting.
What is your current rank in Valorant, William?
I'll tell you this, Paul. I had a game where my team went 1-13.
Ooh.
But not the good way.
Oh.
So what I'm saying is
you were the one.
You got one though.
What I'm saying is, and hear me out. It's only up from here. I know what rock bottom tastes like. Did you know there's a cap for the amount of credits the opposing team can have? Because I didn't until today.
Oh my god! The fact that you found that out, you hit that.
The fact that I discovered, if you die enough and they get enough money,
they just can't spend anymore.
It's 9,909. Everyone wants to know you can't get above. It's not. They don't. The most money anyone can carry is 3 ops, and like. But no, I'm kidding.
You have a bunch of Turkish pros. Just get them to carry you.
Oh, Paul. The thing is, for me is like I'm proud. I want to learn by myself. I want to go. Yeah.
Just get them to hard carry you. You don't even need to do anything. Show up. You know, they'll carry you right to immortal.
They're so far above me. I don't even deign. The real people I want to carry me are the heroes of the Storm Pros, and believe me, that is coming. I am like this close to making a mandatory practice event, like grinding ranked with me.
Part of their contracts. Anytime you have a contract renewal coming up, make it mandatory. Like the Beckham contract, where they have to do a certain number of hours of boosting Williams' account.
But like this is the thing, and this is where like I don't want to get boosted. I want to get better. Like that's the thing. Like
why?
Yeah. I'm already good enough. Let's be honest. It's the world it's the MMR system. It keeps carrying me badly.
It says 2 and 13 next, baby.
2 and 12, Cam. 2 and 12.
No, it is 2 and 13, Lindsay.
It's all about the clout, William. Get that carry. I agree.
And I used the lines. Paul gave me these lines. He told me to say, "Hey guys, let's all smoke mid, rush A. Smoke mid, rush A." And I did that.
Did they smoke mid?
Well, actually, what they said back to me is, "You're the only one on our team with smokes." Which was
love that you were telling them to smoke, and you're the one with smoke.
Which was like the truest moment of my esports career, where it was like, yes, you've seen through my cloak of deception.
Martin's playing Age of Empires 2 and Valorant. Well, Martin, you carry William, even if he has to play on Australian servers. You give him the hard carry. I actually haven't played much, but I did try the new COD over the weekend, the beta that they had, and surprisingly, it's exactly like old COD. New COD is the same as the last COD. I don't even know why they bother making new games. They are all exactly the same. Sniper rifles are totally broken. Other than that, seems like a fine game.
Yeah.
Anything else, guys? Anything else? Anyone listening, watching, want us to talk about? If not, we're gonna wrap up. William, thank you as always. Lindsay, thank you as always. Guys, stay tuned for the podcast next week. Tomorrow, I should say. Cam says that part of last week's podcast was so funny. Smoke mid, rush B. That's, for those who didn't listen to last week's podcast, I suggest you go listen. But I tried to teach William some phrases to make his Valorant gameplay better. Unfortunately, the application of those phrases didn't seem to pan out.
Didn't give enough praises, Paul.
Greg says, love you guys. We love you, Greg. Thank you so much for showing up. Thank you to everyone who shows up every single week. Thank you. If you're new to the live stream, please come back, bring friends, tell your friends. We love having you. Stay tuned for the podcast. We'll drop tomorrow. It's going to be a great episode. And as always, the live stream every week at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. On that note, guys, make sure to buy William's book. Also, the Book of Esports. It's the greatest book of esports. I've now gone through all the frameworks with my class, William. They're all experts in BAMs and omens and SCAR and ketchup and mustard. Random people on the street come up talking about ketchup and mustard. But it's a great book. And I highly recommend buying it. And guys, stay tuned for the podcast tomorrow, like I said, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye, everyone.